As discussed in the previous videos, geographic, environmental, educational, and access issues contribute to the prevalence and treatment of chronic illnesses. Due to the internet and the publication of online reports, there is now a huge volume of data available from respected bodies such as the World Health Organization and the National Center for Health Statistics, as well as a number of disease-specific organizations such as the American Cancer Society. These data provide insights into health trends across the world and within individual countries, and evidence generally indicates that the diseases people are diagnosed with and whether or not they die from them vary across many variables. These data are the focus of epidemiologists, who study the distribution, patterns, and determinants of health and disease in defined populations. This includes infectious disease prevalence, rates of injury, environmental exposure to toxins, mental response to natural disasters, and much, much more. One major goal of epidemiologists is to understand groups or communities that face health-specific health challenges based on social, economic, and/or environmental disadvantages, also known as health disparities. This could include age, sexual orientation or gender identity, socioeconomic status or SES, racial or ethnic group, religion, cognitive, sensory, or physical disability, geographic locations, or other characteristics historically linked to discrimination or exclusion, thus creating systematic obstacles in healthy living. In response to these health disparities, health psychologists and epidemiologists focus on ways in which all people can attain the highest level of health by learning about and eliminating these disparities. In addition, there is an interest in creating societal changes that help generate long-term avoidance of these inequalities. Like many of the social movements of the modern era, there is a focus not just on giving tools for impoverished communities to achieve better health, but to improve the system so there are no disparities that need addressing at all. In efforts to improve health for all groups, epidemiological research can inform public efforts to increase healthier societies. In the U.S., major efforts have been undertaken since the 1970s to identify and improve major metrics of health in the American population, known as the Healthy People Project. The goals were first set in place in 1979 in response to an emerging consensus among scientists and health authorities that national health priorities should emphasize disease prevention. This first issue contained a report announcing goals for a 10-year plan to reduce controllable health risks. In its section on nutrition, the report recommended diets with fewer calories, less saturated fat, cholesterol, sugars, and salts, relatively more complex carbohydrates, fish and poultry, and less red meat. Though this recommended diet consisted of more processed foods rather than fresh produce, the report advised for consumers to be wary of processed foods. After a decade, this project turned into a great success, having brought greater awareness throughout the U.S., but there was still a ways to go. Therefore, each new decade sets new goals that build upon previous years. The working group compiles a list of topic areas, as well as objective metrics and measures to compare the status of that variable at the beginning and end of the decade. Remember operationalization? Well, here it is in practice on a major scale. As you can see, the current iteration ended in 2020 with 6 times as many metrics. Clear growth. Of course, there's obvious irony in that 2020 has been the most significant global health crisis in a century, so researchers are eagerly exploring which metrics backslid versus those that significantly improved despite the pandemic. But how do healthy people designers decide on topics and metrics? In particular, they focus on leading health indicators, which are major public health concerns chosen based on ability to motivate action, availability of data to measure progress, and relevance of broad public health issues. Vaccination and immunization, sexual health and sexually transmitted diseases, sleep health, physical activity, substance use, cancer, nutrition and weight status, tobacco use, environmental health, and many, many more constitute these leading health indicators. So, you might notice that the health behaviors we discuss in this course pull from this list of topics. In the next video, we will focus on one particular topic area that we have alluded to frequently throughout this course, but deserves greater attention today. That is, social determinants of health.